We all have that grandma, great aunt, or neighbor that has way too many dolls at their age. We've sat in their living room with the uneasy feeling that someone or something is watching us. But it's just the creepy vintage dolls peering with their wide glass eyes. Turn away for a second and back on the doll, and you could have sworn it blinked. Dolls. Are they creepy because they look a little too real? Or are they actually bodies for demons to inhabit? Every child has a doll, but not all dolls are the same. On this week's episode, we will be exploring the history of dolls, psychology behind the unease of dolls, haunted doll stories, and more. My name is Kayla, and welcome to Cauldron Convos. Tss. Hit the smoke machine. What do I pay you for? Tss. Just kidding. I don't pay anyone because we're low budge here. Actually, this looks very high budget, may I say.
Brought to you by Target.
If you are new here, please consider subscribing to this channel because we post videos every single week here on conspiracy, spooky, paranormal topics that you want to hear about. We're here to entertain you, we're here to make you laugh, and also throw in some facts and educate you because we do our research. And every single comment I will reply to, so please leave a comment on what you think about haunted dolls. Leave a comment on any advice, feedback you have, suggestions for topics that we should do next week. And thank you to the one person who emailed a foot pic to cauldronconvos@gmail.com. If you do want to also send one in, please feel free to. Dolls have actually been a part of human play for thousands of years. In fact, archaeologists note that dolls are actually the oldest known toy. Fun fact, wooden paddle dolls have been found in Egyptian tombs dating to 21st century BC. And in 2004, a 4,000-year-old stone doll was unearthed in an archaeological dig on the Mediterranean island of Pantelleria. I don't know if that's how you say it.
God bless you.
Pantelleria. Gosh. Now, dolls were made out of clay, stone, wood, bone, ooh, chilling, ivory, and more, and dolls have also been found in graves of Roman children. Now, traditional dolls are used as toys. However, dolls have also been used for religious and spiritual purposes over time and across cultures. For example, Akwaba are wooden ritual fertility dolls from Ghana. Some other African dolls are used for ritual purposes as well, and Daruma dolls in Japanese culture were used as good luck charms. In European witchcraft, puppet dolls are used to represent a person for casting spells on that person. So you guys probably know about voodoo dolls, whether you've seen the Scooby-Doo episode. I will throw in a picture. If you're an audio listener, make sure to watch the video. But voodoo dolls are basically sticking pins into a doll of your enemy, and it's typically associated with African American hoodoo folk magic, but aren't actually a feature of their religion. In fact, it's most likely inspired by the European puppet dolls, which sounds like a fun doll name, like Puppet, ooh. Like it sounds like a Nickelodeon commercial that's going to be like, Puppet, Polly Pocket, you know? But it's not, it's a voodoo doll. Native Americans would make corn husk dolls out of dried leaves or husks of corn. Now, there are many other types of dolls across different countries, across different time periods, but this isn't a podcast on the history of dolls. This is a podcast on the paranormal. So what's so spooky about them? When did they get this way? Now, before the 18th and 19th centuries, dolls weren't real enough to be seen as creepy, but in the 20th century, polymer and plastic materials were being used to create dolls, and that's when they began looking a little too human and real, and dolls may have started to become creepy and uncanny for this reason. Patricia Hogan, a curator at the Strong National Museum of Play, which is essentially a museum of toys, said that doll manufacturers figured out how to better manipulate materials to make dolls look more lifelike or to develop mechanisms that make them appear to behave in ways that humans behave. She pointed out the sleep eye innovation in the early 1900s, where the doll would close her eyes when laid horizontal, which is the exact opposite as how normal babies go to sleep. Usually not immediately. She thinks that this is where the unease comes with dolls. They look like humans and in some ways move like humans, and the more convincing they look or move or look like humans, the more uneasy we become. So the uncanny is a psychological experience of something not mysterious, but creepy in a strangely familiar way. Psychologist Ernst Jens set out the concept of the uncanny, which was later elaborated on our bestie, just kidding, not bestie, Sigmund Freud in his 1919 essays Das Unheimliche, Do you know what that means? Das unheimlich?
The eerie, so the unsettling.
Ooh. And this essay explores the eeriness of dolls and waxworks. So I'm not sure if you guys have seen videos or listings on Etsy, but there's some people on TikTok that share videos of what they're called reborns. Now, these reborn dolls look insanely close to the real thing. They look insanely close to actual babies, which is the reason why some people think that these are extremely creepy. They are hyper-realistic, custom-crafted infant dolls that reborn artists and makers say you can love forever. And some even have heartbeats, breathing motions, and cooing, which repulse a lot of people, but artists and buyers sometimes purchase these as a way to deal with loss. So for example, miscarriage, infertility, if they are grieving a child loss, if they just have depression or anxiety, to help them cope with their loss.
Yeah, that just kind of strikes me the wrong way. That is beyond the Uncanny Valley, where I kind of just get a little spooked from just how realistic those are.
As kind of we progress in, I don't know, technology and just like materials, I guess, it seems like these dolls are getting more and more realistic, kind of like the robots too. Like they're getting so realistic, almost too realistic, which is kind of this uncanny effect that we discussed a little. So our brains are designed to read faces for important information about intentions, emotions, and potential threats. It's just kind of in our DNA. And babies can even make the link of facial expressions at a pretty early age. I forgot exactly what it was, but I think it's around 8 months. They already can take a facial expression and read it and understand what their parent or whoever means with their face. So essentially, we are primed to see faces and respond depending on what we read from them. However, even if we look at a doll and know it's not really a threat, we do see a face that looks human, and it isn't, and it unsettles a basic human instinct within us. Now, this is sometimes referred to as the Uncanny Valley, or the idea that humans react favorably to humanoid figures until a point at which these figures become too human. And I'll show up a graph on the video. It's kind of interesting how it just drops after a certain point. At that point, the small differences between the human and the inhuman, maybe an awkward gait, an inability to use appropriate eye contact or speech patterns, become amplified to the point of discomfort, unease, disgust, and terror. Now, the idea actually originated with Japanese roboticist Masahiro Mori's 1970 essay anticipating the challenges robot makers would face and probably are facing because they're getting a little too real. So now we know this uncanny effect in human nature makes dolls especially creepy to us, but when did dolls become creepy in pop culture and media? Now my immediate thought was, oh, it must have been like a movie like Chucky that would cause so many people to think dolls are creepy. It was writers that began exploring the horror of dolls. For example, The Tales of Hoffman is pointed out as the beginning of the creepy doll genre, and Jentz and Freud actually used this as a case study in their uncanny essays that they were writing about, and which we spoke about briefly before. To sum it up really quickly, it was an 1816 story involving a traumatized young man who discovers that the object of his affection is in fact a clever wind-up doll. But then movies and shows started using this creepy doll idea, and in the 20th century, creepy dolls became actually actively homicidal. The Twilight Zone's murderous Talkie Tina, which was actually inspired by one of the most popular and influential dolls of the 20th century, Chatty Cathy. Talkie Tina would say things like, "My name is Talkie Tina, and you better be nice to me." And I don't think it helped that it was inspired by Chatty Cathy. I feel like if I was Chatty Cathy owner, or whatever that brand was, I would sue Twilight Zone for ruining the reputation of my doll. Hey.
Yeah.
I have a joke for you.
What?
What's the one thing creepier than a doll?
What?
A clown doll. I guess that wasn't a joke, but
Okay.
that was stupid. The evil clown doll from the 1982 film Poltergeist was also seen as one of the creepiest dolls in movies. Now, just like Talkie Tina, Chucky was actually a real doll clone. So, for example, it was called My Buddy, and he was inspired by this actual toy. Here we go again, ruining toys for everyone. Thanks a lot. But Chucky was possessed by the soul of a serial killer. Don't you just love that for your little toy? The 80s and 90s saw tons of other movies with a homicidal doll. For example, Dolly Dearest, Demonic Toys, Blood Dolls. Oh, you'll like this one. Have you ever heard of the movie Dead Silence?
No.
It was released in 2007, and it's a movie about a homicidal ventriloquist dummy going around and ripping out people's tongues.
You know what's really funny? When we were doing research for this, I spent like an hour looking for haunted puppets.
Oh, no, not the haunt. I feel like you would. Like, that's your thing. That's creepier to me.
Don't say that's your thing.
That's your thing, puppets.
I wanted you to do your spiel and then like throw a curveball about a haunted puppet.
Yeah. If you could send a foot video of your foot, but like being touched by a puppet, you get, I don't know what you get. I'll send you like an Etsy shirt or something. I'll send you a sweater that says a ventriloquist touched my toes.
My toes were haunted by a puppet.
Yeah. And somewhat recently, a movie most of you viewers have probably heard of or seen is Annabelle, which came out in 2014, commonly mistaken for Annabelle Creation in 2018. Annabelle Comes Home in 2019, which are films in the Conjuring franchise. That was a joke. I just can't believe there are 3 Annabelle movies.
They'll make anything into a movie nowadays.
Like Lion King, okay, have 3. Annabelle? Now, it's interesting, we do get a little insight from the inner workings of these directors of these doll-haunting movies when director John Leonetti of Annabelle told the Huffington Post that dolls made exceptional vehicles for horror films. He said, "If you think about them, most dolls are emulating a human figure. But they're missing one big thing, which is emotion. So they're shells. It's a natural, psychological, and justifiable vehicle for demons to take it over. If you look at a doll in its eyes, it just stares. Now that's creepy. They're hollow inside. That space needs to be filled with evil." It's pretty cool that psychologists are able to pinpoint this actual psychological phenomenon of why dolls are so scary. However, maybe they're also scary because of the cases and stories of real-life haunted and possessed dolls, including one from the movie we just talked about, Annabelle. Have you heard of Annabelle, the doll?
I've seen one of the movies, actually.
Ooh, were you scared?
Well, no.
Ooh,
not as scary
brave.
as the Conjuring movie.
Okay.
It's very predictable. All the Conjuring movies are very predictable
That's true.
as well. I'd say like 90% of movies are predictable. That's for another podcast. But
ooh, look at you. An empath. Just kidding, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We should definitely do a podcast on Ed and Lorraine Warren in the future.
People think they're fake.
Well, people think this whole thing is fake.
That's true.
We're talking about haunted dolls for 30 minutes. We spent hours of our lives, so...
True.
Raggedy Ann, Raggedy Ann.
Okay. Paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren claim that this doll movie is based on a true story and that the Raggedy Doll's original owners would constantly find her in places that they hadn't left her in. And according to them and the owners, Annabelle the Raggedy Doll was being used by a demonic spirit to possess a human soul. Now, according to the Warrens, a student nurse was given the doll in 1971 by her mother, and the mother purchased the doll from a hobby store. People do say that given the style of the real doll, it was most likely purchased new, since this particular Raggedy Ann doll with the calico dress does not predate the 1970s. Don't you love that there are experts that know that the calico dress does not predate the 1970s? What's a calico dress?
I think it's produced by Calico Cut Pants.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a calico critter. Have you seen those?
I have not.
The little kitten
I'm
fuzzies.
a big fan of Calico Pants, though.
My calico critter is possessed.
Calico Pants are more of a guy's thing.
Okay, I got it. Calico critters are a girl's thing. Okay. At first, the doll's movements were subtle. Donna, the owner, claimed that the doll would just move around on her bed slightly. However, over time, Donna and her roommate Angie would find the doll in different rooms than they had left it. It would even appear back in Donna's room with the door shut. And sometimes they found the doll with its legs crossed and its arms folded, while on other occasions it was found standing on its feet, leaning against a dining room chair. They even discovered it kneeling on a chair, which was strange because if they tried to make the doll kneel on its own, it would fall over. It could not kneel. Donna also claimed that she would come home to find penciled messages written in childlike writing on parchment paper. The messages read, "Help us" and "Help Lou." Now, Lou was Angie's fiance and had been staying with them.
I can only picture someone go, "Help Lou! Help Lou!" You know? Like an old
Louie!
Hey, go help
Hey,
Louie.
like in a meatball shop. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, Lou, go get the Louisville Slugger and take it down to the
Yeah,
barber
dude.
shop and go knock Joey out with the Graceffos and the bazookas and the...
Hey, Lou, the Yankees gonna win today, you? Lou? Hey, Lou,
Hey,
Yankees
Lou,
gonna
bring
win?
some Zeppelis over. Tell Donna to come over. Bring her famous sauce, her tomato sauce. Go to Staten Island, take the Throg's Neck, come back, and go around again because we gotta help Lou. And Donna apparently did not have parchment paper in the apartment and had no idea where it came from. So how did the doll get this parchment paper? Did it, like, poop it out? I don't know. Like, is it creepy that there was parchment paper? I guess that is creepy that there was parchment paper that she didn't know was there. But how would a demon make parchment paper?
I think it's more like they're conjuring up parchment paper. I feel like most people...
Ooh, they're like, the doll is going like this when they're
Well,
gone.
most
and
people
creating.
have parchment paper.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Or maybe she's making her own paper. Maybe Raggedy Ann be a domestic and be making her own paper. You know, people do that. They make paper out of, like, other paper.
Yeah.
They also claim that Donna came home from work to find what looked like blood on the back of the doll's hand and 3 drops of blood on its chest. But I also realized that she was a nursing student, so who knows? You know, maybe she didn't properly dispose of her gloves. Maybe it was on her shoe. Maybe she had a bloody tooth. Sometimes I had that. I mean, that doesn't sound normal. That sounds really concerning, actually. I don't always have bloody teeth. Just sometimes. When Lou gets me with the Louisville Slugger. Okay. Now, one night Lou, I can't read this seriously anymore. One night Lou woke up and realized that he was unable to move. He saw the Annabelle doll at his feet and watched as it slowly glided up his leg and over his chest. Before he knew it, the doll had begun to strangle him until he blacked out. Isn't that funny?
Oh my god.
That sounds, yeah, the Raggedy Ann doll slithered up his leg and strangled him. I'm just picturing the Raggedy Ann going like a little floppy like thing, like choking Lou
It
out.
doesn't have legs. It's like a fish.
Lou is definitely not from Staten Island if he can't take on the Raggedy Ann doll. Watch the real Lou be watching this like, curse you. And he woke up the next morning certain that his experience was not a dream. And another time, Lou and Angie heard rustling noises coming from Donna's room. Lou approached the closed door and waited for the noises to stop before entering. He turned on the light and saw Annabelle laying on the floor in a corner. He walked over to the doll, but as he did, he began to sense that someone was behind him. He spun around, but no one was there. In an instant, he found himself doubled over, grabbing his chest, which was now bleeding. Upon inspection, he discovered 7 claw-like scratches on his chest, 4 horizontal and 3 vertical, that were hot like burns. The scratches healed rapidly and were fully gone in 2 days. Do you believe this, if there's no actual evidence, if it's just kind of a story that...
I mean, this is all anecdotal, so...
Yeah. You know what I was thinking?
What?
I was thinking maybe Donna doesn't want Lou to stay over because it's her roommate in her house and Lou's just always there. So maybe Donna's like, ooh, I'm going to get Lou. I'm going to trick him into thinking that Anne whatever is haunted so that he leaves.
Ooh.
Conspiracy. Don't ever say we didn't give you conspiracy. I just did.
Donna's a puppeteer.
Donna's the ventriloquist. Now, the Annabelle doll was actually moved to a specifically made demon-proof case marked warning, positively do not open, at the Warren's Occult Museum in Connecticut. But the museum is unfortunately now closed, so we can't go.
Oh no, it's actually closed?
Yes.
Why?
However, I did find out that apparently the real doll is actually traveling with them through Connecticut this weekend.
Where?
I don't know, somewhere in Connecticut.
But
Do you
where in
want to see the
Connecticut?
Raggedy Ann?
Why not?
We could do a live or we could do a vlog. Same Raggedy Ann. Me and Raggedy Ann pose. We have to get schwasty with Raggedy Ann. We have to get raggedy with Raggedy Ann. Do you have any thoughts on the Annabelle story?
I have a hard time believing this one.
Yeah. Also, let us know in the comments what you think. We want to hear. Do you think Annabelle's real? Do you think she's raggedy?
Like, is she killing people or is she just writing notes and scaring people? Like,
Yeah.
what type of demon is this? And if
Yeah.
we were looking at like the Ouija, like Zozo, like wants you to die and like harasses you and terrorizes you, this is pretty harmless.
So now let's dive into a haunted doll story in another country, because the haunted doll phenomenon is not just something that happened in the United States. So in 1918, a 17-year-old bought a traditional Japanese doll for his 2-year-old sister named Okiku in Japan. And now Okiku loved this doll a lot. She would bring it with her everywhere she went and even slept with her doll. Now, tragically, Okiku passed away at the young age of 3 of a sudden illness, but the family placed the doll on Okiku's shrine. But not long later, the family had dreams of their daughter in the doll and noticed the doll's hair starting to grow in real life. Now, the doll originally had hair that was cropped around jawline length, but the doll's hair started passing the jawline length. And over time, town shamans, spiritual leaders concurred that their daughter's soul was in fact trapped within the doll. Now, the family kept the doll in 1938, but moved to a different area, so they then gave the doll to the Menenji Temple, where she actually remains enshrined to this day. Now, all respect to the family, who's definitely not even alive anymore, so I don't know why I have to even say that. I mean, this was 1917, but if you believe your daughter's spirit was in a doll, like your 3-year-old passed away and you truly believe her spirit is in a doll, why would you give her to a temple? They said that they were moving. Okay, you have a luggage. You can't put the doll in your luggage?
Yeah. I mean, I
Talk
think
about baggage.
if it's a haunted doll, I think the best place for it to be is probably in a temple.
But it's their daughter, they're saying.
Well, I think that just kind of proves our
Like
point.
the doll, like
What's
this
the
doll.
validity behind that if they're saying it's their daughter?
Yeah, exactly. But this doll didn't like do things like Anne did, like didn't, slash anyone's face, didn't write weird things on parchment paper. This doll was just chilling with her hair growing. She was just like, ooh. But in the temple, allegedly, her cropped hair grew nearly 10 inches all the way down to her knees during the beginning of her stay at the temple and continues to require trimming to stop it from growing out of control. And the priest that cuts her hair is said to have received a message from Okiku in his dreams, asking him to keep her hair trimmed. Now, a user named Azumi on Yahoo, Japan's paranormal occult forum, says that a Japanese paranormal book discusses Okiku claims the temple refuses to allow the doll to be disassembled and analyzed, so that's why it is not. However, that was just on a forum, so haven't seen any other proof of that. And I also read something that they actually did test the hair, and it was real human hair, but who knows, there's also no great articles or reputable sources on that. But I thought that was a fun little thing to imagine, that they tested the hair, and they were like, oop, this is a human. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
And a top comment on one of the videos I watched on Okiku noted that the doll's hair is probably silk, and the long strands of silk are folded inside the doll's heads, and the end of each strand is kept outside. Eventually, as time goes by, as it wears, whatever, the silk will start kind of falling down, and that's why the hair is growing. Now we are going into Robert the Doll.
Robert the Doll is considered to be one of the most famous haunted doll stories. Robert the Doll dates back to the early 1900s. A young boy named Eugene Robert Otto was given a handmade doll by his servant that worked for his family. However, other accounts note that the doll was actually made by the Steiff Company of Germany in 1904, and it was a gift from Eugene's father. Eugene named the doll Robert after himself, and the doll and him seemed to be best friends until they weren't. Eugene's mother heard Eugene screaming from his room and the furniture moving around. When his mother opened the door, Eugene was frightened and said Robert did it. The parents reportedly did hear a voice talking to their son that wasn't their son's voice. There were other accounts that the parents made that the doll used to run down the hall. I'm curious how it runs. Is it like Annabelle, like a floppy fish? That's how I kind of interpreted it.
This one's kind of weird looking.
Yeah, Robert
this
the
one's
Doll's
more stiff looking than raggedy.
I would say this is a little bit closer on the Uncanny Valley of why we don't like it.
Yeah. And the story continues kind of with, he got married to someone years later, but he still had the doll. But apparently she thought it was creepy, so he put it in the attic of his home. And even though he put it in the attic, he would come upstairs. He would see that the doll has moved to other places. I've also read something that kids would walk by and see the doll kind of popping up in the window. And so that's why he went up to the attic to investigate, what was Robert doing. Isn't that weird that if that's real? I don't know.
I don't know if that's real.
So these are just kind of the most famous haunted doll stories. However, there are actually people on YouTube and just people on the internet that buy these dolls, that talk to them via kind of ghost talking devices and phone apps and whatnot. And so we're going to touch a little bit on that, the sales of these haunted dolls, what the videos show us, if anything, and conclude on this crazy topic. Now, as you can imagine, people are into some weird things, such as haunted dolls. And I'm not, okay, I feel bad if you're watching this and you're into haunted dolls. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's go have a seance with our dolls together. Or let me buy one for you and let's do it. Let's have a little tea party. Actually, bad idea.
You need to be a little more accepting of haunted dolls.
The haunted doll community that I offended. I literally think I'm offending everyone. I'm like, I'm so sorry. The family of Okiku in 1917 that I just offended. Listings on eBay say things like, haunted doll Dakota spirit child, very active, experienced users only.
And then there's like some other weird ads that this gives you. It's like, oh, vintage signed oil painting extraordinarily predicting 9/11. This is remarkable. Like, what?
This is remarkable. But in this haunted doll Dakota spirit child, I'll just read the description because it's kind of funny. The seller, Akkeej25, explains that the doll is embodied by the spirit of a child named Dakota who is murdered by his mother. Belying the doll's placid features, Dakota can be quite angry at times, the seller warns, and should not be treated like any other toy. I'm not like any other bitch. He cannot be positioned near any mirrors or he will break them. The listing concludes with a breezy note that all paranormal and metaphysical items sold in my store are for entertainment purposes only.
Interesting.
So there are like multiple listings like this where people will sell haunted dolls and kind of create this story, or maybe it is a real story, I'm not sure. Kind of talking about the name, you know, the experience level of the person that should be buying this haunted doll to kind of communicate with them through these apps and devices.
Yeah, I was looking through some of these listings and it's kind of scary where it says, I must state that this item is tangible and is for entertainment purposes only. I will not be liable for any unseen forces, unfortunate events, hospitalizations, or death. This includes any paranormal activity that may or may not occur.
So I feel like part of that is to cover themselves legally, and part of that is as a way to advertise. Like, they're like, oh, I cannot be, you know, it's like almost that makes me want to buy it more because they said that.
This is expensive.
Yeah, $1,300. They're making a racket.
Bucks. And this guy's name is Benjamin. And
I kind of want to see the reviews of them. Like, if the seller, because I'm sure they sell all other dolls, they're probably in the business, unless they just have one, which would be kind of random. And actually, that's probably more real, to be honest. But
guy's name is Benjamin, and he says, I am the owner of a haunted doll museum, and I collect rare and haunted dolls from all around the world. Welcome to my shop. Take a look at the haunted dolls and the others we currently have for sale. And then another thing like that's suggested as an ad other than the 9/11 prediction painting is the blessed medals from Ed and Lorraine Warren's The Moffat Family Haunting. Like the blessed medals from the exorcism that they performed there.
Oh my gosh.
And those are $2,000. And the 9/11 prediction is $7,500.
Yeah. And so actually I want to explain also another reason why that they put that in the listing is, according to the New Yorker, eBay prohibits the sale of intangible items or things that buyers can't confirm that they've received. Even more explicit, it says listings that offer someone's soul or a container that claims to have someone's soul are not allowed on eBay. So to comply, most sellers, like this person, include a disclaimer that metaphysical activity is not guaranteed because they can't guarantee an intangible item like paranormal activity.
Interesting. That's a good legal loophole. Now, you can get one for like $200 on this guy's shop. I'm looking, and there's another one. Like, I think the more haunted they are, the more expensive they are, which is interesting. And then there's good dolls. You can buy a good spirit for $1,000.
But I also saw that some spirits will pretend to be good to trick, like demons.
Like
they'll
Zozo.
Pretend. Yeah, and then also I saw on another YouTube video, I'm getting real deep into the lore here of these haunted doll videos and everything, and the experts that are commenting on these videos. And one of them said that it is not possible for a spirit to embody a doll or a stuffed animal or something like that. In that case, it is a demon. Like anything, if it's like a doll that's talking to you, it is a demon. It is not a spirit.
I believe it.
So I took a look on YouTube to watch some videos of these paranormal YouTubers with actually like 1 million subscribers, some of them, and see what their experience was with a doll, a haunted doll, possessed doll, demonically possessed, whatever. and found some pretty interesting ones with some interesting comments as well. And Loie Lane, who has I think 1 million subscribers or so, started talking to a doll on a YouTube video using a ghost app on her phone. And most of the video you can't really make out anything that the doll is saying, so I feel like the video is true. Like there's no reason why she would be manipulating it anyway, because most of the video you can't even hear that the doll is saying anything. But she does ask if a little girl is in her doll, and the app does reply man as a response. And now the video creator didn't say anything about this specifically in the video, but someone in the comments timestamped a time and said, "The ghost says in Polish, 'It will kill me,' at that timestamp." And the video creator had no idea. Obviously, she probably doesn't speak Polish, but someone watching it heard that and was like, that's translate in Polish to "it will kill me." And the doll was kind of like Polish looking, which is kind of weird. Like,
what
I
does
don't know.
that mean?
It looks Eastern European. Like, it's like the blonde
That's
hair,
fair.
blue
That's
eyed,
fair.
like, I don't know. Just and like the clothing that I was wearing, the garb of the doll was kind of Polish looking. Now, another YouTuber, Haley Reese, believed her stuffed dog from a gift from her boyfriend when she was in the hospital has a spirit in it because weird things started happening since they got the dog, and it also seems to move from room to room with no one actually moving it. And she's like a paranormal expert, I guess, and she creates videos on the topic. So
That's a convenient haunting.
well, okay, but here's the thing. It was like a cursed red fluffy like Valentine's Day dog that you would buy in a gift shop. So I feel like if she wanted to, pretend that something was creepy, she would specifically pick like a very creepy doll.
Or it's a false flag. Oh, this is not creepy. Oh, wait, it's haunted.
Okay, well, is she really going
throw
that
you
deep
off
into it?
to throw you off the scent.
A Mickey Mouse. Oh wait. Yeah.
I'm gonna kill you.
And this one actually was pretty crazy because the little machine thing that they were using, like a really intense one, seemed to have multiple spirits talking over each other and saying things like cursed, dog, dead, her name Haley, or like Haley. People were even time-stamping, like people that were watching the video, and saying the things that they thought that the spirit was saying, and it was getting weird. It was getting even creepier because she wasn't even like hearing these things in the moment, but you could tell they were freaked out by all of these things. But the people in the comments were like, no, I think they actually said like they can't help me, like because they think that the spirit is trapped in the dog. And she kept asking, were you in the hospital with me, like whatever. And also it was so funny, she also goes, where are you guys, like the spirits, are they in the whatever? And they said dead. And the first top comment was like, at least they have some humor. Where are you? Dead.
At least their sense of humor isn't dead.
Yeah, no. So in conclusion, it makes sense why people find dolls creepy, and myself included, I do find dolls pretty creepy. I mean, if I saw a Barbie doll in the toy shop, I would not be necessarily creeped out by it, but if I was alone in a basement and saw a vintage doll staring at me, I would probably run fast to get out of the basement. It's kind of like the Ouija board, the Exorcist thing, where we're like, we don't think it's real, but we're not all that, oh, it's not real, that we will gladly order on eBay a haunted doll and start talking to it with a ghost box. I'm not doing that because there's a chance that it is real.
Not only that it could be real, it's $1,300, and like even the cheapest ones, that's like $400 or $500.
You could just like find one at like Salvation Army. I'm sure those are pretty creepy.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I'm good. Thank you though.
We're good.
I appreciate the offer.
So I hope you guys like this episode of Cauldron Convos. Make sure to hit that subscribe button as usual. Like this video, comment down below. Remember, I reply to every comment that I get. And I'll see you guys next time. Happy spooky season, babies. Almost Halloween. Bye.